Alright, so here's one way you can think about these mods. If you watch the other video about making that ball, the one I posted recently, then you'll remember we packed it as a zip and put it in the mod folder right at the end of the video. Now we decided we were going to put a couple textures on it, and well, it's kind of like if you buy a dresser at Walmart and you want to put it together. Well, you got to take it out of the box. So basically it's in a box when it's in a zip. So we got to put it back in the vehicles folder to do work on it. If we don't, then we're going to get a second folder gets created here, and then we're going to have pieces of this mod in two different places, and then good luck getting that together. So we're going to move it out of the zip and put it here. In fact, I'll delete the zip file completely after I move that out. Now if I open this, you can see now in vehicles, you see the folder A. This is the same folder from yesterday. Since we are making a new material, then we need to delete the main.materials that's here. That'll ensure that when we load this back into Blender and we put a texture on it, the game will make a new texture. It's not a bad idea either to go to the temp folder, which is also in the user folder. If in there, you know what, it doesn't even hurt anything. You can delete the whole temp folder pretty much any day. It doesn't matter. If you delete that, you're ensuring there's nothing being cached loading from there. Not to confuse you, just all I'm saying is if you're going to do more work on a mod, it's not a bad idea to delete that temp folder. I have seen in the past sometimes where something in that folder is causing a conflict, because in there it's usually it makes a cached CDAE version of the mesh, and if you change the mesh it can conflict. I've seen it. So anyway, let's load this into Blender. Now this is where we left. Now there's a couple questions about this tutorial. One is, couldn't I just export this ball as the jbeam? Yes, you can. You can export that as a jbeam. Just keep in mind that all these nodes that make up this thing, they're all going to have weight. And every one of these edges, well, they're going to all become springs. So if you were going to do something like this ball, it'd probably be a better idea not to use a high polygon model ball, but instead make a lower polygon version that's got, you know, it still resembles a ball. You know, it's still got some ball features to it. It's still somewhat round. It's just a lot less polygons. That'll make it so that you don't have 900 nodes or 900 beams and 500 nodes and whatnot. So like this sphere, I can just apply all transforms. I moved it. It's a good idea to apply all transforms. Anything you move, rotate, or scale, so the origin's set correctly. Over here in the little green thing, the data thing, I'll just put a little letter A. Or you know what? I'll put a letter B this time. It doesn't really matter with this because this is the only thing, but it's good to get in the habit of making sure you name your node prefixes, so when you do start making things with more than one thing, you already got in the habit of doing that, because it's so many times I export the same I export something, I forget to do that, and I ended up having to go back and do it again. But anyway, let's export this thing and I'll show you the difference that will make opposed to the cube. Now, you can use Notepad++ or you can use the jbeam editor. They're both exactly the same thing, except one shows you what you're looking at and the other one kind of doesn't. So the sphere, we put it in there. Now we can load the previous jbeam for A, put it in there, and you'll see a cube in there because, well, that was how we made it, with a cube. So nothing's changed with the flex body as far as the flex body. We didn't do anything to that. All we did was made a new J-beam, so we got to remove the old one and replace it with the new one. You see that little letter B? I'm just wanting to point out where that node prefix comes in. It's different than the other one. The other one I used A, I believe. Or no, I used S. Like I said, if it's the only thing, it doesn't matter. It's going to get a default of an N, letter N, on all of the stuff. If you don't do anything, it's just automatically going to get an N. Alright, I'll get to the texture next. Oh, I should be able to close this one out, the sphere, and I should be able to hit refresh, and it, you know, it should be correct. The box, the cube, whatever, it's gone. It's now replaced with this thing, this sphere. So the textures. Alright. We can just delete that. Let's cut this ball in half. It's already, what I mean by cutting in half, let's just select half of it. See, I got the X-ray here turned on. That way when you pick what's in the front, it's also picking what's in the back. If you don't have that on, when you pick, it's just going to pick whatever's on whatever side. You know what I mean? So we'll halve this ball. Now we are in edit mode. Here in the material in edit mode, you can see the other texture here. I can hit this plus sign to say make a new texture. I'll just call this B-ball. And then I'll hit assign. Now the base color, this is like the only thing that the game will read, as far as I know. All the other stuff, it ain't. This is the only one you got to concern yourself with, the actual texture. Let me just get a random image. Here's something I can throw on there. Put them clouds on there. Got this material preview, by the way, right there. Let's see. That'll be fine. I don't want to over explain. I don't want to have to explain too much and get more confusing video than what it already probably is. So I'll just not explain UVs in this one. Now this side, look at that. This side has got the other texture, but it doesn't have a texture actually applied to it, like an image or something. We'll just stick that letter A on that one. Yeah, I don't want to over-explain this video and get into the UVs, but yeah, I mean, it does matter what the UVs are as far as how the picture is wrapped on the ball. I just got lucky this time. Usually, it's never where you want it to be. It's just, I'm not going to push my luck. Oh, let me smooth this thing too. Alright, like that. Now we can export this sphere back over itself again. We're just overriding the one that's there with this one that's got two textures. And see this checkbox is automatically checked to copy the textures into there. So whatever materials are here, it's going to put into the folder for that vehicle. Let's see here. See, there's the cloud. There's our letter A. There's our new DAE. And as you see, the material file's missing. the game should make that when it loads for both the cloud and that letter A. Now if we decided we wanted to cut that ball in 4 pieces and add another texture, we'd either need to manually add the texture to the material file, like in Notepad++, for example, or just delete it and let the game remake it again. I don't know, it doesn't add to it. It doesn't add to it after the fact, or if it does, it doesn't do it right. So as you can see, this now has a ball for a jbeam. That's gonna drive me out. This ball's node material. It's gonna be cloth. Well, it's still loud. Hit save. Did I not hit save? Cloth ain't that loud? Okay, it had to be reloaded. Alright. Now, say you use the high polygon one instead of the lower polygon. Oh, I guess you've seen the textures, by the way, are in there now. So say you make the high polygon ball. Get back to Blender. Alright, we'll just use that ball because it's got a lot more polys and everything. Let's first look at the jbeam real quick. So you see these are the nodes. These are for the low poly balls, and these are the beams for the low poly ball. I mean, that's a lot of beams, even for a low poly ball, you know. Now watch how many there's going to be when we export the other one that's full poly. It's going to be quite a bunch. Let's do like we did with the other one, put it in there. jbeam exported. Which one was that? Just sphere. So we can drag it into the editor. Let me see how many more there are. You see I didn't give it a node prefix. I actually forgot. So it defaults to letter N, which that's fine. Like I said, if you just got one object, it don't matter. It's when you have 2 objects that, you know, they can't all have the same numbers, so you got to give different little alphabet letters. Now look how many beams are in this one. That's a lot. I mean, that is where your performance goes, by the way. The more beams, that's more CPU. You know, more beams, more CPU. When you do that banana bench and it does the mega beams text, mega beams test. Well, that's what it's. What do you think it's counting? It's counting all them beams. I mean, that's what it's calculating. All them nodes and beams. So that's why I said the less you can get by with, the better. But it doesn't mean you can't use the higher polygon. You can, as you can see. You might be like, what happened to it? Well, remember, all them little nodes all they all got weight to them. They all got weight. When it was less of them and less beams, it didn't make that much of a difference. But when you got this many beams and that many nodes, that shit weighs a lot. So you can you can try to play with the numbers and change the weight, make it so that it's maybe like each node, instead of weighing like 150 kilos or whatever that is, you can just say maybe each one just weigh, I don't know, 5. But then you got to adjust the springs, and the springs for that amount of weight, that's too much damping. That's going to implode. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure. We'll try and see. Hit Control R. Yeah, see that? That meant kaboom! It imploded, exploded. You can really see this in slow motion. You can also turn on the, you can hit Control B a couple times and it'll show you the different beams, and it also, you can keep hitting Control B until you see the stresses. Not sure which one. There's a lot in there. Old stress, near it is stress. See, it's just unstable. See, red is compression, blue is extension. Probably that, like what that, something like that, what happened to that submarine. So what you gotta do is you gotta adjust the spring strength, or the damping. I would say the damping here, that's way too much damping. Let's do 10. Let's see if this what this does. You know what, I don't know exactly the best numbers. Like I don't magically know like right away what the best thing is, but you can see that needs more damping, or that needs, see, this is where I'm not good. I'm not good at math. So what would be a good value for all these weights to go with all these dampings and spring strengths? That's not my area. So this is the amount that it can, this is the amount of spring that it's got. I'll take a zero off, and let's try it. Well, it needs more spring, or it needs something. Now you can make the damping higher if you allow it to deform sooner. But damping you don't really have to worry about unless you get the weight too low, which is low. And you see how this is just going to be a hell of a nightmare, which I didn't have to worry about this with the low poly ball. That's the whole point. With the low poly ball exported as jbeam, I had not to worry about these issues. Now you can, in here, add new beams. You can go into here where the beams end, for example, and put new beams by going to beams, add single, and then connecting like that beam to that beam. Just make sure your cursor is here when you do it, or it's going to put them all at the top. But you can see how this could be a long process, connecting these things and reinforcing them and connecting them all to one another. You turn the triangles off, that doesn't going to help. You can't see good in there. So yeah, you can do this and you can make a lot of supports, but it'd be far easier just make the thing with less polys. I mean, you could be here all day. But that does make a difference, as you can see. it does got a little more support where those beams are on the inside. When you go inside, you can see those that I just made inside of there. That I just kind of put here and there. They're not really in no particular way. Let me think. Oh, yeah, in Blender, you could, in edit mode, say select all and tell it mesh jbeam nodes connector. That made every node connect to every node. That made 100,000 something beams. I don't even think the game, I think 90,000 is like the most I made, and it like locked up on me. That's an insane number of beams, because every one of them is going to be a spring. It probably, we can try it, but I don't think it's going to work. It's going to take forever to export it. Damn, it's going to be a lot of beams. It's going to be one sturdy ball, though, I can tell you that. Damn, that's a lot. Not that many triangles, but damn, it's a lot of beams. Let's, and my CPU ain't gonna get no love today, that's for sure. You're gonna be pretty unhappy with me. This might not even load. Yeah, so I think the point is, yeah, less is better. Now, the cube isn't the best idea, but that was a good point. Yeah, it's not gonna happen. And if it does, it ain't gonna happen in the game. So yeah, that was hopefully this can explain it a little better. Why you wouldn't want to use, well, why you wouldn't want to use a cube, but just the fact that you could. It was a good question. To ask, because I was hoping somebody would notice that. But anyway, I'm getting sidetracked now. My mind's going in 10 different directions because I'm wondering if I covered everything. I think I did.